However, if you go over 2,000 milligrams a day, you could be overdoing your calcium supplementation, and that could lead to kidney stone formation and also deposit of this calcium into your blood vessels and not the bones that you were intending for. Hello, happy bone month. This month we've been talking all about bone health, and this week I'm going to be talking about calcium, going to be talking about vitamin D, vitamin K1, K2, basically all the ingredients you need to build a bone. Last week we discussed exercise and how you need to lift heavy weights. Go back to that video and get more details as you deem necessary. This week we are going to focus on vitamin D and all the ingredients that you need to build a bone. So in addition to protein, this is like the main building block of bone is protein, and within protein we have collagen. And within the collagen, we have things like zinc, vitamin C. We also have strontium. We have boron, magnesium, all these trace elements that we need for bone building. The main thing is calcium. So the way I like to, talk about calcium is that whenever you eat any foods containing calcium, your body only can absorb about 500 milligrams at a time at each meal. Now, when you are in postmenopause or perimenopause, your dietary requirement for calcium is about 1,200 milligrams a day. That's the requirement. It does not mean that if you eat 1,500 of calcium that you are going to absorb all of that, especially if you have gut issues. It's very hard to really do the one-on-one correlation and say, well, if I eat this much calcium, I'm going to absorb all of the calcium and therefore I don't need calcium supplementation. It's hard to determine. However, if you go over 2,000 milligrams a day, you could be overdoing your calcium supplementation, and that could lead to kidney stone formation and also deposit of this calcium into your blood vessels and not the bones that you were intending for. So calcium is very important. Your body is very smart. It knows to take in the amount of calcium it needs from each meal. Your job is to have calcium rich meals so that you can have enough calcium, which is very important in building bone. And the other factor we need in terms of absorbing calcium is vitamin D. And that becomes extremely important, especially during perimenopause and menopause, because vitamin D is considered a prohormone and it has other functions in your body besides bone building. So now you have a higher requirement for vitamin D. And so in functional medicine, we like numbers of vitamin D to be between 50 and 70. Above 80, then you are, going towards more vitamin D toxicity, and you don't want that. And so when you are supplementing with vitamin D, it's important to be monitored by a healthcare professional to make sure that you are not going above the toxic level of vitamin D, but staying within that 50 to 80 mark to help with bone formation. Now, when you have the vitamin D, you have the calcium, it's important to have K2 with it. And I think of K2 as really the director of telling the calcium where to go, because calcium can go into the blood vessel or into the bone or into the gut. And K2, it's a form of vitamin K that helps to direct the traffic and tells calcium to go into the bone instead of the blood vessel. So whenever you take a calcium supplement, you want to take it with a vitamin D, and you want the vitamin D to be together with a K2, and that helps to direct the calcium into the bone. I hope that was clear. If you have any questions about the three things, the calcium, vitamin D3, and K2, please put that in the comment, and I look at the comments daily, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. And so main three things you need: calcium, vitamin D, and K2. And I've gone over the different trace elements like magnesium, boron, manganese, and zinc that you need in your nutrients. So how do you pick a good supplement for your bone? Is that you want that particular supplement to list all these important trace elements, and to make sure it has enough calcium and it has absorbable form of the vitamin D and also K2. So that's what you are looking for in a supplement. And in general, you want to make sure that the supplement is third-party tested and it's not full of fillers and impurities, which really makes it difficult to absorb the main reason why you are taking the calcium. Of course, you want to start with food, right? You always supplement with a rich diet. And main food group here, or major group here, is protein. We want to have enough protein for bone building. And lean protein, doesn't matter, it can be animal-based protein or plant-based protein, but you need to get enough protein if your goal is to build bones. And calcium-rich foods, kelp is very rich in calcium. Some nuts and seeds, very rich in calcium, and all the trace elements that I've mentioned that are good for bone formation. And legumes are also rich in calcium and protein. So when you add on top of the good food, solid food, or whole food diet, and sometimes you need to supplement between these two things, you are on the right way for a great bone formation. Adding onto that the resistance exercise that we discussed yesterday, and next week I'm going to go into the last key aspect of bone building during perimenopause and menopause, and I am sure you guessed it, it is estrogen and testosterone. So we'll be talking all about those two things next week. Stay tuned. Forward this video to someone you know who needs to hear about osteoporosis or osteopenia, because it is so important that we remain mobile. As we age gracefully, we want to remain mobile, and a fracture is a very quick way to lose mobility. And to avoid fractures, we want strong bones. And so that's what all these video series are really dedicated to doing, is to maintain mobility through developing strong bones. Thank you for staying tuned. I'll see you next week.